You're listening to Partnernomics Podcast, where we discuss the art and science of developing successful strategic partnerships. To learn more about the suite of Partnernomics solutions, visit partnernomics.com.
Welcome back to another episode of Partnernomics Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brigman. And on today's show, we have Morgan McCabe on here with us. Morgan is a director of partnerships at HubSpot, an awesome company that we've been using for many, many years here at Partnernomics since we got our inception. But how are you doing, Morgan? It's awesome to reconnect with you. So I want to ask you again, what time is it where you are?
Yeah, so I'm based in Belgium. It's 8:15 in the evening, but working for an American company, I'm used to these hours. I start a little later so that I can be alive for these late night calls.
Exactly. Well, your English sounds pretty good to be chilling out in Belgium. What's the story behind it?
Yeah, I love when people say you have a perfect English accent.
There's a reason.
Yeah, I was born in New York City, and I worked for a Belgian company for about 3 years, and I was going back and forth, and that's how the whole Belgium thing happened. But
so how do you do that? I mean, it's usually the opposite. They're usually
right.
Like in the US, when we're hiring folks that are outside of the US to help us get into new markets, but you were in the US but working for a Belgium company. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to work for international companies. I had studied abroad, and my dad is from England, so I had this British passport that I said, I've got to use at some point in my life. So that had always been something I was interested in. So I'd worked for some international companies in the US. And then, when this opportunity came along to work for a Belgian company and help them with their actually like partnerships and developing the US market, that was something I definitely jumped on. That was not software though. There was different kinds of partnerships for that. And then, going back and forth, I decided I rather work in Belgium, and there were people in Belgium, startups that were looking for an American to help run their expansion into the American market. So that really worked out perfect because my Flemish or Dutch is actually not perfect. So it was great to find a company that really wanted a native English speaker.
Awesome.
So that's a bit the history. But the partnerships was always something that I loved and wanted to make sure that I could do.
Well, it seems like the bulk of your career has been in partnering and doing partnerships. Talk to us a little bit about kind of more specifically, what you've done throughout your career. And obviously you love partnerships.
Yeah, with the company PieSync, which was acquired by HubSpot, it was 100% partnerships. We were not a standalone tool that people could use. Like we were an iPass basically. So our entire world revolved around partnerships. And the key was to make sure we set up a program that was scalable, that was really a win-win. We were the smaller fish in the pond a lot of cases. And we had to basically, literally, our lifeblood was partnership. So I wanted to work with the rest of the team to see how we could get a system in place where we could actually launch an integration and or new partnership basically every week. So every Wednesday, we got to the point where every Wednesday we were launching a new integration, and with that, a potential new partnership. So that was what we were doing for about 3 years. And now at HubSpot, we are doing quite the same, continuing to build these kind of integrations and syncs and partnerships, and work on the strategy to continue that effort. But now it's going from being the small fish to the big fish. So the whole dynamic is a bit different, or as a sumo, as some people talk about. So that's been great.
Well, Morgan,
really
talk to us about that. That's an interesting point, interesting topic. And depending on which side we're on, whether we're the sumo or the smaller scrappy company, we're trying to figure out, how is it similar? How is it different? What do we need to do in order to partner with organizations that are of different size than us? Are there any particular insights or maybe examples or recommendations that you have for doing that, since you've been on both sides of the fence?
Yeah, to be honest, I find that, you know, partnerships really are about, you know, obviously creating this competitive advantage, but also about making sure that you're really adding a lot of value. So to be honest, a small company that's partnering with a larger company can add different kinds of value, I find. Like you said, they're fast, they're nimble. They normally can, you know, make sure that anytime something is asked of them, they do it, and they do it really in a way that I think, you know, can add a lot of value to, especially when it comes to like enablement. This is something that I've always said is super important, because a lot of times partnerships are, you know, between these two partner managers or between these two marketing teams. And yeah, it's great if they decide that it's a good fit and they go forward. But yeah, that's just the beginning. Like the whole rest of the company needs to make sure they even know that this partnership exists, especially if it's a integration partnership. And yeah, there's definitely some people in the company that know nothing about integrations, or that's not even on their radar, or they just say, oh, go to the marketplace. And yeah, you're one of, you know, thousands of integrations. So I think it's really important to make sure that enablement piece is really clear to everyone involved, and you have a plan for that from the start.
Morgan, I'd love to go back to a comment that you made a couple of minutes ago, and that is, you know, the previous company that you were with, you guys were really partnership first, absolutely dependent on partnerships in order to grow. And it seems that most companies start off with more of this direct approach, with direct sales to generate revenue, those sorts of things. And then as the company continues to evolve, continues to grow, then it stands up a partnering team at some point down the road. I'd love to just kind of hear a comparison contrast. What's it like to be at an organization really from day one? It's partnering first as a mentality, as a culture, as opposed to other companies that are maybe direct sales and just direct first, right? Kind of this organic, we're going to go it alone, this very independent approach. What's kind of the difference between those? Maybe what's some insights that you could share?
Yeah, of course, with direct, you have a lot more potential control because these people are working for you. Whereas with partnering, you know, you have to really make sure that they see the value and that they are motivated to do this. And to be honest, you know, there's going to be different pieces of the organization that you need to educate and make sure that they're aware of this partnership. So the having it as the beginning versus like the second thought, I think it makes a lot of sense for especially small organizations to think about it this way, because you know, a lot of times when you're scaling, like resources are limited and you really have to think outside the box. You have to think about, you know, how can we couple? I always think of like partnerships, like the best partnerships are like natural coupling, you know, like you can, you know, piggyback off of go to markets, you can piggyback off of events, you can do so many really, if you think about it from a creative way, and you partner with the right teams and people, you can get so much more done so much faster because you're not having to hire and scale all these people. A lot of times if you have these partnerships with great companies, they're already hosting these huge events, or they're already doing these amazing go-to-markets strategies. They have all this stuff already in place, and it's a matter of you making sure that you can add content or, do something, creative, like saying, oh, let's, host the breakfast or something and make sure there's your name everywhere, or little fun things like that, that are just maybe sometimes these big companies don't even think about. That was something that was kind of interesting. Like we didn't sometimes sponsor a huge event or have a booth, but we said like, oh, can we bring Belgian chocolates and do something like that. There's always something that you can, if you get creative and think about, that you can do, that can add a lot of value to these big companies being a small company.
Yeah, it seems like, say 5 years ago or so, we were hearing about companies being mobile first, just coming with platforms or coming with different applications, different technologies, where it was truly built for the mobile first, and then maybe like PC as a secondary. And I think we're seeing the same thing now in partnering, where to your point with your previous company, where it's partnering first, and then if we're going to do a direct, it's direct as a secondary to that. And it's been really interesting seeing companies like that, because when we talk about partnering being a culture, and I think having a culture that is very independent, us versus the world, as opposed to a company that's very comfortable with interdependence and reliance on other companies, aka partners, that's a difference, and it's a cultural difference. And I've really seen companies struggle that have been independent, right? They just direct for many years, if not decades and decades. And then they try to do this partnering thing. And it's a cultural difference. And I don't know if you've experienced that at any one of your companies, but just getting people, executives all the way down, other departments, other organizations, getting them kind of knowledgeable and comfortable with what we're doing, this new strategy, this new partnership. Yes, you need to help us work with them, provide them with information to enable them, those sorts of things that you were talking about. Have you ran across that?
Yeah, I think it's also interesting. Like there used to be these, just, there were just solutions partners, and now there's integrations partners, and now there's even, the whole iPaaS world and partners building. And then there's partners that are hybrid, I call partner, that are doing both. They're like offering services and technology. And it's interesting. We would come across some of these partners and they had this model that was totally outdated, and they would try to like squeeze you into that model, and a lot of times we didn't fit that model, or they would insist on rev share, and that was not something that made sense, or they would have these huge long legal documents that you had to sign up for or negotiate, or they had, for example, a pay to play model. There's so many different ways to set it up, and it's really, it's interesting to see those companies that say, oh, we understand and value partnerships, and we know that what we're good at. So we want our partners to fill in all those gaps, and we want to have the best customer experience. And I think that's something that, really, HubSpot was a partner of ours before they became my employer. And it was really great to see how, they said customers are a priority, and then they actually made sure that they were offering a very customer first, customer centric experience when it came to like the ecosystem and partnerships, and not having that pay to play model, or not having the set almost box that you had to fit in. They really were good at that. So that was something that was really exciting, to now be on that team and help even make it more customer centric, because I think that's the main thing, is if you have a good partnership model, then the first person you're thinking about is actually your customer. It's not necessarily your partners, right? It's, okay, how is my partner going to help this customer? And we can't do everything. So, and we may do certain things, and there's even those, competitors that are partners, and yeah, but that's still helpful because not everybody is going to use every product you have. And even if you offer a suite, and more, SaaS products are offering this suite of products, but they're also offering a fully dynamic, competitive ecosystem so that customers can pick and choose best in class and design their own software stack, which I think is the best way to do it, to have that idea.
I mean, customers need to have the solution that fits them the best, right? And I think that as we continue to go deeper and deeper into this 21st century, all the new technologies that are out there, all of the APIs, and hopefully, this increased interoperability where people have more choice and truly be able to almost surgically put together the components and the pieces that they need for their solution. I think that makes a ton of sense. Morgan, I'd love for you to just talk specifically about your role. I mean, what specifically is your role at HubSpot, and what kind of work are you doing there?
Yeah, you mentioned APIs, and that's something I've seen where over the years, it's really shifted from this kind of closed, you have to buy access to the API, to really having a truly open API, developer friendly community, a partnership model that you can easily sign up for. So I think that's also very interesting. At HubSpot, I'm responsible for the operations hub data syncs. So what does that mean? That means all the partners that we have in our data sync collection are partners that we actually do the build. So we're building the integration. And that's a bit, different than the rest of the ecosystem, where the rest of the HubSpot ecosystem, the partners are building the integration to HubSpot. So what I make sure that the partners that I am responsible for, they obviously know about Operations Hub, they know about the data sync, they know how it works. They will potentially become also like a hybrid app where they build onto this integration, so make it even more robust. We're seeing that more and more. There are several partners that are data sync partners that also have integration themselves that they've built. So we do similar go-to-market strategies. We do similar enablement. We make sure that we try to do similar marketing, and yeah, just continue to build out that data sync. Another main thing that we're focused on for the 2022 coming up is local applications. So thinking, being in Belgium, there are several tools that are, specific to our market. There are, tools that are specific to the German market, to the Japanese market. That's something that, is great working for an international company. We have to make sure that, that those markets that have specific apps for those markets, for example, accounting applications that are only really relevant to those markets, they're not forgotten. They're also able to sync the data and are supported. So that's really exciting because I think that's going to just open up a huge opportunity for all those growth markets, and then making sure all our applications that we already have on our marketplace are also localized. So, a lot of times people want to read on a knowledge base article or see a video or, in French or in German or in Spanish. I mean, they realize a lot of those SaaS tools are in English, but that doesn't mean that you can't try to help make it an easier, again, customer experience.
So Morgan, you mentioned ecosystems a couple different times. I know HubSpot's doing a lot of work in the marketplace and just lots of different partnerships that you guys have going. Do you mind, if somebody is not real familiar with the awesome work that your team is doing from a global perspective, from a big HubSpot perspective of bringing in more and more tools, would you mind kind of painting that picture of what does ecosystem mean to HubSpot? And then how do you see HubSpot continuing to build out its partnerships to give customers, better and better solutions?
Yeah, I mean, it really boils down to choice, right? So like we mentioned earlier, is having that choice. And, if a customer has been using a certain software for years, they want to, potentially use HubSpot alongside that software. Yeah, they want to be able to focus on using those software and getting the best return on investment of those softwares, no matter what is in their I call it software stack, right? So a lot of times this is not so easy. Like everyone says, oh, we have an open API, or oh, we have a marketplace. A lot of times you have to pay for those integrations. You have to pay for developers. You have to pay to maintain it. So that's something that HubSpot has really tried to make sure that they have a large array of integrations, that those integrations are not an extra cost for the customer. They make sure that, like I just said, it's not only for the American market, it's for all the different global markets where HubSpot is. So yeah, an ecosystem is really like the Apple marketplace or any other marketplace that you may be familiar with, where you can easily just click and integrate and have it running seamlessly. You don't need a developer degree or something like this to set it up, or you don't need a huge new budget to make sure it continues to run. I've heard a lot of stories of people who have tried to build things from scratch and then come back to HubSpot and said, oh, I just love being able to have a couple clicks, or maybe they have to work with a solutions partner to help with the setup, but a lot of times that's more of like helping understand how they're going to use these workflows or how they're going to set up a process versus actually having to do any coding, right? So that's the idea, is to let people focus on their work. Like all this software is supposed to help them
exactly.
do their job.
Technology is supposed to make things easier, right? That's the idea.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Morgan, so you've been doing this partnering thing for a while. What have you seen over the course of your career in partnerships and the prevalence of partnerships and companies being able to use, utilize, leverage partnerships to help them grow and to provide more value to end user customers like we talked about? And then where do you see it going? What's the trajectory over, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think one of the big things I've seen is the fact that these marketplaces are like actually searchable and easy to use. Also, there are quite a few partners that allow the marketplace to be totally run by the partner. So you can even add all the content, you can update the content, you're hitting approve and you're waiting maybe one day, and then I think that is the best and most scalable way to have these marketplaces and ecosystems. There are still partners that make you jump through a bunch of hoops and they don't allow you to control anything, and it's really clunky and difficult. So I think it's the future is that, right? Is having these systems in place where it's easy for partners to become a partner, that it's clear all the different types of partnerships that they can sign up for, because partnerships is such a big word, right? Like there's so many different kinds and forms, you have to have it easy for the partner, and then make sure it's easy for the customer to compare. If you want to go shop if you may already have your stack and you just want to integrate it, or you may just have a piece of it and you're not sure, and I see that also happening more and more. Like people will buy because of the ecosystem versus already having these pieces in place and then just needing to integrate them. So there's really like these two separate types of customers. There's two separate types of partners and ecosystems and marketplaces. And yeah, whoever does that the best is going to scale the best and is going to add the most value and is going to be the most successful. So I definitely think you have to keep that in mind, right? And continue to make sure that the partner journey, the developer journey, that is as seamless as possible. And then on the other end, the marketplace is as easy to use, and being able to compare and contrast, be able to double click in, being able to see videos, because no one reads anymore. that's a fact.
That's so true. I love that. Could not agree more. I want to ask Morgan, what's an example of some successful partnerships that you've put together over the course of your career?
Besides PySync and HubSpot?
Besides that one.
Being acquired, that's like the ultimate partnership, right? That's when you get
it is, right? And that's when you've got it right. We talk about crawl, walk, run. That's the perfect way to do it, right? You get this partnership, get this relationship going, prove out the value. What a better compliment that there is in business than to have a partner want to purchase you. Actually, it happened to my college roommate. So I think that's the ultimate piece of success. Let me switch it up and ask you a different question. Roadblocks. What are some of the biggest roadblocks that you see in partnerships? What are some hindrances that we have? I guess you kind of alluded to one, or at least one topic, and that is, it's time for partnering to be a science. There's some companies are better at doing this dance than others. Frankly, most companies are not good at doing the dance. I think it's just a maturity thing, just kind of this maturation. But I think it's finally time for companies to understand that partnering is a repeatable, predictable process, or it can be by and large. And it could be much, much more efficient than what we make it today. And to your point, and just like the tools that HubSpot is using and connecting with, there's the tech stack is just going crazy in this space. Adding new capabilities, new functionality, new data management, information management tools to make that happen. But what are some of the roadblocks that you see just in deals that you put together, or just that you see across the industry?
I would say there was definitely a point where we were really trying to make the customer journey even more seamless, even less clicks, like even saying, don't go to the marketplace, like make it in-app, make this experience where you can be, in the tool and you can click on integrations, and there you can see everything that's running. You can see, even like suggestions, basically just make this whole customer experience even easier. Payments, even, having the ability to have one, if you have 20 tools and you have 20 invoices, that's also gets pretty,
I think
difficult,
HubSpot,
right? So
again, being a client for 7 years or almost 7 years, I think you guys have done a phenomenal job at offering a lot of different integrations to do that, right? To make it easier for your clients to run their business and to take this manual stuff out. That technology is supposed to help us do this stuff better. And HubSpot's done a phenomenal job so far. Well, Morgan, I don't want to take up all your day, or actually all of your night. I know it's probably time for you to go to bed before too long, but thank you so much for taking time out to chat with us. Let us know what you've got going on there at HubSpot. And it'll be fun to watch you guys continue to build out the marketplace and all the other partnerships that you're working on. So keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Partnernomics Podcast is brought to you by Partnernomics. Learn how to leverage the power of partnership. To listen to more episodes of Partnernomics Podcast, visit partnernomics.com.